before we get started, the goal of today's video is to, as always, help you build equity so that you can then go on to unlock capital, right? The best time to get capital ready or the best time to get exit ready is now. Money is a funny way of finding itself to the folks that don't necessarily need it. And what we're on a mission to do is help you get capital ready while you master all 5 exits of ownership, right? So, everything starts somewhere. And just like, eating a cake, your exit or your business, it's one bite at a time. So how do you get exit ready? How do you ultimately exit with ownership? It's navigating this road that we call entrepreneurship, really one exit at a time, taking a less risky or a risk mitigated approach, right? By taking risk off the table, we can actually increase the overall value of our business, right? A less risky business is a more valuable business, especially as we're working to put profit in our pocket over the longest period of time. And in today's video, what we're going to cover are the 5 C's of leverage that you can focus on at each and every single one of these 5 exits. The very first C that we're going to be focusing on is creativity. And creativity is leverage that we all have at exit 1 or any time as entrepreneurs. Everything starts somewhere. And it's really the ability to build intellectual property that scales with our business, right? So the ability to actually come up with ideas, the ability to create unique processes, the ability to define messaging and create value propositions that differentiate us in the market. All of that leverage can be created with our creativity, and we don't have to wait for anybody. We could quite literally, start there at day 1, exit 1, 0, right? And as we're doing it, as long as we document it, as long as we refine it, and as long as we focus on turning it into scalable assets, we are starting to build equity in our business. Right. The very next thing that creativity oftentimes will flow into that is scalable is content. And content ties to messaging that matters, right? So as we're building our business, as we've been able to identify our ideal customer persona, as we're finding our founder market fit to then get to our customer market fit to then get to our product market fit, what we're trying to do is design content that scales out, right? You can create one piece of content such as this YouTube video and recording it one time, it can go out to thousands of people, right? Same thing goes for a newsletter or a blog post or a social post, right? So the ability to be able to capture your creativity and then convert it into content is a very scalable mechanism that allows you to flow as you're building equity inside of your business, right? Within the ability to create content, you're able to focus on your ideal customer persona, and you're hopefully building and designing messaging that matters and brings them and attracts them into you, right? By focusing here, what you're hopefully able to do is to build community, and community scales. Why? Because relationships matter, right? The ability to build community is the ability to attract like-minded folks, right? Folks that agree with your belief system, folks that share the same common problem that you've committed your life to solving with your business. And if you're designing content that resonates strong, then you're going to attract that type of person and you're going to bring them into your community. And all of that started was from your creativity, your ability to solve problems, right? Identify a problem in market that you're passionate about as a founder, create content around it, share that and disseminate that message and distribute it out there, and then attract the right type of person into a community that allows you to build loyalty, really drive advocacy for the problem and solution that you're trying to champion in the market, and then ultimately give folks a place to belong, foster this sense of, hey, we're in it together, so that connection can be made, encouraging truly active participation into what you're building. And typically where we start is building things that solve problems, and sometimes the simple things are services, right, that provide a solution. But once we've been able to do that, the next thing that we want to be able to focus on in terms of problem solution in the market that scales is code, right? Because code is the ability to solve something once through the development of software and then replicate that at scale at a very low cost basis. So if you want to start to build equity in your business and achieve better gross margins, right? You've been able to create, be creative and identify a problem market. You've created content that's been able to scale in terms of distribution and acquire the right type of persona. You've been able to foster a community. You've been able to prove value by delivering some form of a service, turning that function into code in a replicatable way. It's a very scalable path to be able to deliver value with really great margins, building the equity inside of your business, right? It's a really cool thing about code is it doesn't require people. It doesn't require the human capital. Great people build great businesses, but human capital will oftentimes be the number one expense line on your P&L, on your budget. And code is a great way. It's a scalable tool that you can leverage. And all of this is about finding leverage inside of our business to focus on things that scale, right? Especially as bootstrappers, especially, as folks building on a budget and having, in a position of need to do more with less, right? Once you get the code and you're starting to solve problems, what comes after that is typically, money. And typically the next thing that you can focus on of true scale becomes capital, because money never sleeps. And capital is highly scalable, right? So you can scale capital in the function of, selling and solving problems that put more profit in your pocket, and you're scaling your ability to acquire customers and generate profitable revenue within your business, and you're scaling the capital from your business. You also become potentially an investable asset, by following, this type of form follows function of mastering the 5 exits and building equity inside of your business. And because of that, more equity that you have, the more capital you can unlock. And as an investable business, you can actually access capital, and then you can start to leverage that capital to buy, things like that save you time, right? Time, effort, energy, pain. And you could start to solve some problems inside the business, leveraging capital instead of the grit and the grind that you may have had to do earlier exits, right? Exit 1, exit 2. Inclusive in the ability to leverage capital and scale capital, you could potentially even get into, similar things like what we do over at Bootstrapper Capital, where we actively invest inside of profit-led businesses. And we take the pooled capital that we already have and we deploy that. We kind of let the capital, go out and do the work in a sense, to be able to generate returns and profit in our pocket, right? So capital is highly scalable, and there's many ways in which mechanisms in which you could, levers you can pull to be able to get it. Now, everything starts somewhere, and the place to start is always where you are. So you always want to assess which exit you are, right? Exit 1 is you're exiting the day job and you're making your business the job. Exit 2 is you're exiting doing all the work, right? And you're starting to hire a team. Exit 3 is you're exiting managing people and you're starting to build a business system. Exit 4 is you're exiting running the day-to-day of that business system and you're starting to hire operators. Exit 5 is, you're looking to actually exit the business. Now, regardless of where you are on this journey, the time to focus on points of leverage is always now. You could focus on leverage at every single point, right? Exit 1, you're 100% in full freedom to be able to focus on your creativity, right? Realistically, exit 1 through 5, creativity drives everything, right? It is one of the fuel, behind the forces of entrepreneurship. It's solving problems, right? It's creating intellectual property. You can do that regardless of whatever exit you're currently at. In terms of content, you can do content at any single exit. And the ability to create content does not require a significant amount of resources other than potentially your time and creativity. And you can craft your thoughts and you can capture your thoughts, and then you can share it and disseminate it to the world and drive your audience, get attention. Get awareness, build awareness to the problems that you're trying to solve in the market. And hopefully through that effort is how you define and develop community. Community, if you are not in a position to build a software as a service, a SaaS, right? If you're not in a position to actually invest in code, because code does require some expertise, right? So either you need to know how to do it or you need to know somebody that can. And there needs to be a very clear problem that you're solving for in terms of value positioning into the market so that you can do it so profitably, right? We always suggest that you start with a service first, before you invest in the code. It's much easier to test and find that customer market fit, right? Especially, starting with founder market fit first, right? As you're building code to get to product market fit. But something like community and content, you can really do at any point in time, right? Some folks will just start Exit One purely as a content-based business. A very simple place to start is to start with a newsletter, right? Start posting content on social media, drive folks to a newsletter around something that you feel creative, that you feel driven by, right? Something that has, true founder market fit for you, and test out if there is product market fit in the out there with an audience, right? Does your messaging actually resonate, and can you build a community around it? That's a very affordable way of getting started, of just getting started, right? It's also a hyper affordable way to continue to grow and get to exit number 2 as you're looking to acquire more customers. Building content, creating content, and then building a community to be able to house relationships, because relationships matter. And you sell your products and services to the folks that you have relationships with, the folks that know, like, and trust you. A very scalable and affordable manner of getting from exit 1 to exit 2 and starting to have more profit in your pocket to be able to invest in things like people so that you can start to buy time, right? So that you can start to build a business system by refocusing your effort and energy from servicing clients to now working, on your business, not in your business, right? That requires revenue. It requires profitable revenue. And a great way to drive profitable revenue is to leverage your creativity to create content and then develop a community and then sell to this community. And a great way to focus on code that will be profitable code with strong product market fit is to just build into what the community wants, to identify the problems that this community is naturally already looking to solve, and then design scalable platforms, simple solutions, SaaS tools, software as a service tools, code that helps you deliver it at scale. Now, you could also leverage code to create more of a productized service. So it doesn't have to purely be like a pure SaaS play, right? You could do a service augmented SaaS where you're providing some sort of service today and you're doing it more efficiently and effectively through the usage of code. The goal of code is that it's always delivering, so it's always working for you, just like capital, because money never sleeps, right? As you're progressing through exit 1, exit 2, exit 3, you're working, and then you want to reinvest, right? So you're looking to reinvest, points of leverage. Your creativity is getting reinvested into content. Content is getting reinvested into community. Community is getting reinvested into code. Code is eventually getting reinvested into capital as you're progressing through each of these 5 exits. And then you start to leverage the capital to focus in the business in terms of buying outcomes that, ideally pull the right levers and drive value creation in your business, right? All of this in terms of a process. Everything starts somewhere and everything takes time. But if you trust the process and commit to the journey, then you will ultimately go on. You will build equity in your business. Absolutely. These are all 5 things that scale. You put in the effort once and it's replicable. It scales for you. It starts to work for you. These are things that people can do, especially bootstrappers. And you're building this equity, and then eventually over time, you're able to take that equity you built and you will be able to unlock capital. Now, if you want to unlock capital with us, you could go over and visit bootstrappercapital.com, right? We're trying to make it super fun and fast for folks to be able to build equity to then be able to unlock capital through us. with us ideally becoming your capital partner of choice until you no longer need one. We want to be able to help you reduce risk in your business, right? By decreasing, risk in terms of building operational excellence. We want to help you build profitable revenue, right? By building profitable revenue and decreasing your operational risk, you will build equity. We want to be your partner. We want to be your long-term equity partner as you're doing that. And then eventually, we want to become your investor, and we want to work with you to provide capital, affordable and flexible capital, so that we could become your capital partner of choice until ideally you no longer need one. And eventually we all exit, right? At some moment in time, we all always exit. The job to be done is to be able to choose our exit and make it an exit that we want, right? Because the opposite or the inversion of an exit that we want is an exit that we don't want. And sadly, 50% of businesses, small businesses in America, will not survive their first 5 years in business. So we're trying to create a very simple structure to be able to help folks, not only survive, but ultimately thrive through all 5 exits of ownership. Till next time, trust the process, commit to the journey.